Welcome back. My name is Nick, and I have Taylor here with me, and we're going to talk about Succession Season 4, Episode 5. It's like the flaws of the children, or is it green screen dad? I don't know. We're going to jump into it. It was a lot of fun that we're all going to live forever in this living universe. Living plus.
Yeah, and double profits. It's great. We're just win, win, win all around.
And just so you know, every comment is entered to win a shirt from the bestnerdyshirts.com. Me and Kyle are thinking about doing a live stream where we're going to reveal the winner of this current month. So comment down below everything you can before the month ends. And if not, you're just entered in for the next month. Win-win for everyone. And now we're going to jump into the episode. Taylor, what are your vibes and thoughts?
My thoughts. I think it was a little slow in the beginning, but I did like the set piece of being in LA. That mixed it up a little bit. So we went from being in Sweden to being in LA. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it was fun to see that side of the company too, because we always see it like New York vibes.
They hear about it.
Yeah,
we hear about it, but we didn't see it. Yeah, so it's like more of the it'd be like comparison, I think, to like Fox. If they were Fox News, that's what we see a lot, and this is like Fox in LA, doing the movies and everything. So, I think it got a lot better near the end, maybe like the last 20 minutes, when we were seeing him pitch this new product, I guess you could say, to the investors, where he lies to investors, which I don't know a lot about like that world, but I'm pretty sure you can't lie to investors.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out.
I mean, technically that happened with Disney, right? And then the CEO got fired. He was lying about numbers.
Right. And then, it's like it's a gray area, I think, when he's pitching. It's not like he's whatever.
Because he's not like stating numbers like legitimate. It's more like, hey, this is my vision. It's like, here's a vision. Yeah. Do you like this vision?
And they're already invested, so but yeah, and we got the rekindling of Tom and Shiv ? So
let's take a bite out of that.
And just generally a lot of cringe happening, mostly with Kendall. I think we saw a lot of Kendall reverting to old Kendall, so the L to the OG is kind of what comes to mind. But also something that I remembered from old Kendall that happened is him, when the episode ended with him in the ocean, it reminded me of that episode last season where he was drunk in the water, and that's the way that episode ended, and we all thought he may have died. Some of us thought he had died. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, you know what's interesting too? I don't know if they meant to do this. So I feel like old Kendall would have froze and not gone on stage, because remember we had something very similar happen where he was going to go on, then he read the tweets and he canceled everything, and he just couldn't get in his own head, where he kind of pushed through in this episode. And then what's crazy too, so it's like his outlook on life last season was dead in the water, like he was looking towards the bottom, and it was interesting to see him looking up, like, so it's like his perspective and him, it's not like he's been baptized or reborn, but it's like the idea of he's been dunked under and now he's being pulled out or something like that. Like it's a brand new Kendall maybe, or is he just Psycho Kendall thinking he can do whatever he wants? Like, I want clouds, I want a house, make it.
Right. Or like, I like how you said like more capable, or, he's improved in that he can kind of he can show up more. He doesn't have to confidence, hide, or from all we know, he doesn't have to like, take drugs or anything. He can just kind of operate. And I think that we get the thing that you and I say a lot is that the kids all three of them have like different aspects of Logan. And I think you saw that this episode where Kendall could go out and kind of like be the showman and like the face. And then you saw, for better or worse, if it was the right decision or not, Roman being the hard beep about
firing people left and right.
And thinking like, this is what my dad would do, and that like that justified him.
That's how they justify everything, huh? Dad would do that, and I don't know if that's the best
which is an interpretation. It's like, you don't know that.
Yeah, technically they never knew what their dad was thinking.
Yeah,
they can never read them, but yes. And then
Yeah.
Shiv, what was her perspective on well, not her perspective, but what part of her dad was she in this episode?
Oh, that's a
You
good
think
question.
more of like the cunning wise person where she's kind of playing over cards kind of thing, like in the background?
Mm, yeah, I think you could be right there, and maybe it's like not a direct like there has to be a thing where all of them show how they're like they're done in each episode, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is it's very interesting how she's kind of having this back channel to Matson and how she almost kind of encouraged that tweet. I don't think like she directly is the at fault for
Mm.
the thing that he tweeted during the speech, but um it's kind of like she's using Matson to f over the brothers because she's kind of they've
Yeah.
kind of gone in a different direction.
Yeah.
So
Everyone's kind of
interesting.
backstabbing everyone. But I feel like they really do want to bring Shiv in eventually. Like, well, at least Roman. I feel that from Roman, and I think in the after part, I think Roman even mentioned that to the actor. He's like, he was saying like Roman really does care about Shiv, and he doesn't believe Roman wants to cut Shiv out.
Yeah.
And I do see that even with his character because he really does care about his brother, and he has a hard time saying no to his family. And even when it comes to Kendall being on stage, like he was kind of convincing him to not do it, but then he kind of backtracked and he was like, you know what, you do it. So it's like he's one of those people where he's like, oh, as soon as he said something to Kendall and Kendall kind of put his head down, he's like, hey man, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it. Like right away he kind of backpedaled where he was kind of like, being the nice person. So we will see.
Right, right. And
Mm-hmm.
something that you and I discussed before we went on was kind of a lot of moments in this episode were very seemingly purposefully like gray. Like you don't really know what they don't tell you, or the character doesn't tell you what they're thinking, or the writing isn't so that you can figure out what's going on in their heads. You're just kind of meant to interpret stuff. So we were talking before recording that at the end it kind of you thought, and I thought right at first too, that like Roman was upset that Kendall was getting the attention because he kind of like walked away in a huff.
Yeah.
But I think that when he's listening to his dad's voice through the, he's watching the video that Kendall sends him, even though it's a silly video, you can tell he's just like completely crushed because in the video his dad says his own name, and like if you watch, he like closes his eyes when his dad says his name, and I think he was maybe like upset about Kendall using that footage and kind of distorting it. But also I think he's just sad about losing his dad still, because in the context of the show, it's only been like 4 days.
And he was probably the closest to his dad when it comes to emotionally. He was probably the closest that we know of. It looks like Shiv's still towing with it too. Shiv looks like she's going through a lot, just like the scene we saw with Shiv and Tom in the room, in the conference room, and now they kind of re-sparked the fire or rekindled the fire, so they have a little side fling going on, and it looks like Shiv's trusting him again and bring him into the conversation between her and Lucas, which was interesting to see that Tom was sitting in the room when that conversation was happening. So there was a lot of like leftover space where it's like, I trust you now, or she's trying to play multiple sides, like he said, oh, you're trying to make sure you always have an option. So maybe this is her just making sure she has another option. With too many options, would that be a bad thing in the long run? Because then you look like someone who's not steady because you're just always flexible and ready to leave or jump whenever.
You're not like actually like believing anything. You're just kind of making sure that you never lose 100%.
Yeah. So, and then we had some Greg episodes. Robot
or
out.
Some Greg moments.
yeah. Robot out. So
Classic
Greg is back in the mix. It looks like he is the wingman to Tom. He's kind of there for Tom, kind of. I want to say he's trying to be motivational, but he's also saying like, no, you're pretty screwed. Good luck with this. And then he's also there with Kendall and Roy when they're brainstorming, and they're kind of mean to him, but also kind of nice because he does have some major roles to play. And I love the scene with him and the editor. That was just so much fun. He's like, you have to he's like, I don't have footage to do this. He's like, you have to make this work. I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah, it's funny to see Greg like lay down the law and like pretend to be this big guy, like, you have to do it, because it's just always like anything he says is like a joke. So yeah. And we had a comment from the last video where someone, Jojo Joker, said about Greg. I think this is when we're questioning whether Greg will fit into this new Gojo deal, like where he's going to be, because you have a theory that he'll end up on top. It says Gojo loves Greg. Remember when Greg had a midday liquor with Logan? I think he's saying like there's these two, he's like in with both crowds. Yeah. That's likely when Logan added Greg's name to things. Do you remember that midday liquor? Is that from last season?
Yeah, because he sat him down in the room, I think, right? Isn't that when they sat him down in the room, like across the table? And they're like sitting side to side, and he was just kind of confronting him on the info he had, kind of thing. I think that's the thing you're talking about,
but yeah, they think. I think Jerry said that she thinks that the adjustments were made to the like not real kind of real Will a few like a less than a year ago or something. She said something like that, where it's like the last like 18 months. So yeah, maybe that could be true. But yeah, Greg. So another episode where Greg is silly, but also, he gets stuff done.
he did his job.
Yeah, he does his job. You
Cousin Greg.
Can't say he doesn't do his job, which is, I think, executive assistant to Tom. Like, what is his job?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's executive assistant to Tom.
Yeah, that's probably his title.
Yeah. But going back to the, I guess the point of this episode and the siblings, just we had a comment just from B, the user's just B. I don't think they'll be able to tank the deal. I think the family is going to implode, especially the boys. I see Shiv coming out on top. She is her father. Possible. I mean, yeah, especially with her having, we were talking about having like your foot in different, places. I think that it is smart for her with Matsson to be in a little bit, but I feel like Matsson is just so volatile that could just turn really quick.
Did you watch the trailer for the next episode or the teaser? So
yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, it seems to be that election night party that they mentioned in this episode, right? Is that the feeling you got?
Yeah. And then you have Matsson coming in, right? Lucas. And he comes in to disrupt the party, and he's like, great family. There's like a line like that, or you guys have great family vibes or something like that. And then Kendall's like, go tweet about it.
Right. And I think too that's that election has been lurking in the background of the season so far, or even last season, where this season it's been mentioned a few times of like, and there's that whole thing going on. And I think it's kind of supposed to be maybe aligning with like the Trump, the 2016 election. I don't know. Like it kind of seems like the one of the figures, the one that they're in with, is like more, bombastic and stuff. So
I guess that might be a major play, right? Whoever kind of has the president in their back pocket can get more power. Like Logan had power. Logan definitely had power when he had the president in his back pocket. For a time, obviously, we saw that in season 2 where the FBI still, or the CIA still went through the office and all that stuff like that. But
I think you're right that Logan had the president in his back pocket. It wasn't the other way around. The president was kind of like doing what Logan said. So I mean, that's a lot of power. But yeah, I think that's going to be a turning point too, where assuming that this Jared guy is going to win, I think that's going to have a lot of impact on the siblings, maybe because it doesn't seem like Shiv's very into him. But she also posed for a picture with him when she had to, so maybe she's not really standing on firm ground there.
Because she's kind of she has her hand in every pie.
Yeah. I guess that's the theme with her, right? And we'll see if that's like, if what's this saying? It's like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We'll see if that works out for her.
We will see. Yeah, where is Carrie in all this?
This was a Carrie-less episode.
Yeah. So that was we had no Carrie, and I don't know if that's because there's gonna be a bombshell reveal with Carrie in another episode. And
well, it's mostly in LA, and she wouldn't have a reason to be there, I guess. So that's probably why. True. But she could be scheming in New York.
Maybe her
doing her
fight's gonna
thing.
be with Marsha.
Yeah. She's
And
on a whole nother
yeah,
level.
and we didn't have Connor in
No
this episode. Yeah, we
Connor.
didn't have Connor in this episode.
Dang.
And
Well, on the subject of Carrie, because I think 2 videos ago we had posed questioning whether Carrie had killed Logan. Uncle D Israeli says, I think Carrie was still shaken because her whole lifestyle was suddenly being taken away from her. So yeah, I think that's like the most like harmless interpretation of like
Yeah.
what could be happening. And it certainly is possible that it's like, oh, she's just in shock because, you know, the person died in front of her, which is a reason to be shaken. Like that's a traumatic
100%.
situation. So
yeah.
yeah, I agree that that's definitely a possibility.
So I'm excited for next episode. I'm trying to look at other notes I had. Oh, I thought it was funny. There's a Groucho Marx quote in this movie. I mean, I just thought that was so much fun. I'm like, oh yeah, Groucho, heck yeah.
Well, I'm excited for the next episode too because it seems like it is all taking place in one room or like one apartment. So that is very interesting. Like, not only are we only taking place in like seems so far the span of like 1 week, which I think is a really fascinating way to tell like to tell this story. It's also possibly going to be just in one place. So yeah, I feel like even just watching, if you haven't seen it yet, the like preview, I guess you could say, for the next episode, they're at like an election night party, and even just watching that, you feel like so crammed, like they're in like a New York city, like a skyrise apartment, you know. So, and
with the tension already in the trailer, the room feels smaller than it is already. So
totally. And I'm sure we'll have some priceless Greg gems, so something to look forward to. You know,
if there's a
Greg
new lady on his arm.
Greg in a confined space, it's always humorous. Just because, if anything, it's just because he's like 7 feet tall, so it's just funny in and of itself.
Thank you so much, everyone that has been commenting on our videos. I was out of town last week. It was really hard for us to schedule to film a comment video. Maybe we'll get to one this week too. I have kind of a busy schedule, but we'll see if we have time for it. And remember, every comment though is still entered to win a shirt from thebestnerdyshirts.com. Thank you, Taylor, for coming on. Thank you for the comments we did read. We just kind of grabbed a couple before we hit record because we were like, oh, we should probably read some comments. We obviously just watch the video and we talk. Watch the video and we talk. So here we are, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.
Bye.
Cousin Greg, robot out.